Hello everyone and welcome to the Inspire Educator Workshop Series. I'm Jason Latimer and I'm excited to be your moderator for today's virtual conference. Now our goal is to inspire and equip teachers with the tools that they're going to need to engage students in the classroom. Today is day 2 of our workshop series provided by the USA Science and Engineering Festival. The mission of the USA Science and Engineering Festival is to inspire the next generation to pursue careers in STEM, and you can find out about their free programs and events by visiting usasciencefestival.org. Now let me tell you a little bit about myself. I'm Jason Latimer, the host of Impossible Science, and if you're not familiar with the show, that's okay. It unites magic and science to inspire curiosity and wonder. Now, I spent my entire life studying applied science to be the best magician I can be, but now I'm using magic to see if we can inspire a question in the next generation. So the best way to do it is to just show you what I do. So turn it up. Yeah, we're gonna celebrate. Hey guys, it's Jason Latimer, the world champion of magic, coming to you directly from my home. And together, we'll explore the impossible. Yeah, we're gonna celebrate. Bingo!
How the heck did you do that? That's very cool.
Oh, that's science!
Stay curious, because the right question changes everything. Welcome to Impossible Science. Now I want to give a huge thank you to our presenting partners, AstraZeneca, the Science Channel, and the U.S. Department of Defense DoD STEM for making this educator series possible. We'll be hearing from each of these organizations throughout the series. For those who know me, know I'm fascinated by the concept of wonder. How do we know what's possible in the universe? But more importantly, how do we inspire the questions in the next generation? How do we inspire a student to ask questions in STEM education and make it practical to them with real-life situations like music or biology or mathematics? How do we inspire that curiosity? Now for me, I use subjects like an impossible science. Now this is an ambiguous figure. Now you're probably wondering, why is it ambiguous? I see 4 circles. But if I slowly rotate this around, the illusion takes place and you now see 4 squares. Nothing changed but your point of view. This is not a magic trick. This is a mathematical principle in action. Pretty cool. But this is just one example of how to inspire curiosity. And today we're going to hear from 2 STEM professionals about how to inspire curiosity in the classroom. Now, before we get started, let's listen in on a message from the Science Channel. Here's a sneak peek into Homemade Astronauts, their new series about amateur space travelers streaming on Discovery+.
I'm going to build a rocket and put a man into space.
I've been developing a privately built spacesuit.
We decided to do a vertical launch in my own rocket that I built in my garage.
I educated myself.
If you have an interest in space, you can be involved in reinvention of everything that we have.
This is a very dangerous thing to do.
I'm 100% in. We're going to space, man. That's it. We're going.
Thank you so much to the Science Channel. Now let's get started with today's session. Now we're about to hear from two STEM professionals that have found really unique ways of inspiring kids to ask questions in the classroom. Today's presenters include Jess Kesler, an educator and professional development facilitator for the TGR Foundation, a Tiger Woods charity. Her passion is to empower educators to create engaging and effective classrooms that will foster future leaders. And Roy Moye III, an aerospace engineer and musician who is using music and songwriting to make unique and powerful connections to STEM lessons. Now, we anticipate you're going to have a lot of questions for today, and if you do, make sure you ask them by visiting usasciencefestival.org/Q&A. And to kick off today's workshop, we have Jess Kesler. Jess is an educator and professional development facilitator for the TGR Foundation. In her role, Jess helps develop and implement professional learning experiences focused on STEM-based, student-centered learning practices. Prior to joining the TGR Foundation, Jess spent 7 years as an educator in the Philadelphia public and charter schools. Let's get ready to explore an interdisciplinary approach to STEM education to help students build skills to use in the real world. Please welcome Jess Kesler.
Thanks so much, Jason, for that introduction. And hello, everyone. Hi, I'm Jessica Kesler, your Professional Development Facilitator for today with the TGR Foundation. Thank you for joining me in Interdisciplinary Learning, Making Connections. Just to let you guys know a little bit more about the TGR Foundation, for over 25 years, we have been dedicated to redefining what it means to be a champion, not only by providing STEM education for students, but also by providing tools and resources to educators in order to bring that STEM education to life in the classroom. With this small but dynamic CREATE team, we bring professional learning opportunities to educators across the world. Not only are we here today to bring you interdisciplinary learning, but we hope to see you at one of our many other workshops, including our summer STEM studio experiences. I will give you more information at the end of this workshop in order for you to register. Before we dive into what interdisciplinary learning is, I would love for you guys to meet someone who has experienced interdisciplinary learning as she has tried to solve a complex real-world problem. So meet Teresa, an 11th grader in 2019 who attends Sacred Heart Preparatory in San Francisco, California. Check out this piece of her TED Talk as she talks about her experience with interdisciplinary learning.
Ovarian cancer runs in my family. In other words, I'm predisposed to it. And this is a reality that I live with every day. So this past summer, I did some research on preventative measures that I could take. And in the process, learned that there's no easily available screening for ovarian cancer. Too many cases are caught too late. So this year, I proposed an independent research project for a course called Independent Inquiry at my school, Sacred Heart Prep. My project aimed to use R, a statistical programming language, to analyze ovarian cancer from NIH's Cancer Genome Atlas project. My goal was to identify key genomic factors that determine the severity of ovarian cancer. At the beginning of the year, I identified that my project has 3 main subject areas: biology, statistics, and computer science. If I were to take on this project in a traditional classroom environment, that would mean I would be taking 3 different classes and have no time to make the connections between the subjects. Instead, this year, one of my periods was devoted to interdisciplinary learning, and I not only learned more deeply about each of the subjects individually, but also was able to connect them. I learned how to import biology data into R. I learned how to interpret the results of my code in terms of statistics and biology. I learned how to find the needed packages of code to run the statistical models I wanted to. All of these are skills I could not and would not have learned in a traditional school environment. Which brings me to an important advantage of interdisciplinary spaces. They demand that you have or acquire a very deep understanding of each of the subjects in order to apply them to one another.
So let's talk about Teresa. In Teresa's traditional schedule, which looks a lot like many of our students, you see that she has to go to biology class, then she'll head over to statistics, and then she'll end up in computer science class. The problem is all of these classes feel completely disconnected, and there's no time for her to make any meaningful connections between the content, let alone apply them to the problem that she really wants to solve. However, in an interdisciplinary learning environment, she would be able to define her problem and then figure out how computer science, biology, and statistics all come together to work harmoniously in helping her create a solution to the problem at hand. In this learning environment, she would be able to tackle multiple contents at a time, multiple standards, and gain a deeper understanding of the problem that she hopes to solve. This experience is not only meaningful to her because it has a personal relationship with her and her family, but also models what she would do as a researcher in this career field. From Teresa's experience, we can see that interdisciplinary teaching and learning is really about examining a problem or a topic from multiple perspectives, having the opportunity to look through multiple lenses in order to gain a deeper understanding and really dissect a lot of information in order to come up with a solution that can be applied to a real-world situation. In this situation, we see how the problem or the topic is at the center and all of the other perspectives come together in order to provide insight and information that will lead to a solution. So what are some benefits of interdisciplinary teaching and learning? Well, one, for the teacher, you're able to apply multiple standards at a single time. This allows you to make connections to previous work and to future work, and allows students to be able to build on their understanding as they work through this complex problem. Additionally, you'll be able to connect the content to an actual complex problem that students might experience in their everyday lives. This is super conducive to student learning because this applies to so many things that they're interested in, allows them to engage more in the concept, but also allows them to see what it's like to work in certain career fields. Students also have an opportunity to connect content to real-world complex problems. This is a great benefit to them because not only do they get to connect with issues that they see in their everyday lives, but they also get a chance to see and experience how it feels to explore some of these topics in a career area that they might want to participate in. Interdisciplinary learning also provides an opportunity for students to drive their own learning experience. The students will be the ones making meaningful connections, doing all of the research, and really carrying that cognitive load. The teacher then acts as a resource in order for the students to come to in times where they don't know what to do next or to check in to make sure they're on the right track. Additionally, through interdisciplinary teaching and learning, you're able to reinforce a lot of skills that might be happening in your class previously or that might be happening in other classrooms. Now, when students do algebra in their science class, they actually understand why and understand how all of these disciplines come together in order to work together toward their solution. Interdisciplinary teaching and learning also allows students to increase their critical thinking skills. This is a huge task for our students today. They'll be able to analyze data, look at multiple sources of information and pull what's important, and so much more. They won't just be regurgitating information that they learned that day. They'll actually be processing, analyzing, making meaningful connections, and applying what they learned to a complex problem that they could see in their everyday lives. Speaking of critical thinking skills, I would love to share with you guys a few statistics and really see what you guys think about these numbers. Did you guys know that 60% of employers believe that recent college graduates lack critical thinking skills? 60%! Did you guys also know that while 90% of recent college grads believe that they are prepared for the workforce, only 50% of their employers would actually agree? What does that mean to you? For me, this means that there's a huge disconnect between how we're preparing students and what employers want to see when our students step into the workforce. While our students feel prepared because they've aced the test and they've gotten all the information from us that they were supposed to, our employers are seeing that they're not prepared with some of the basic skills that they need, like critical thinking. Through this interdisciplinary learning environment, we see that students are able to thrive in the skills that workforce employers are looking for because they're able to practice teamwork, leadership, communication, professionalism, and all of those core skills that are needed in order to be successful in a working environment. Through interdisciplinary teaching and learning, students will be responsible for communicating their results, for working in teams in order to gather information and do experiments, for being professional as they conduct research or communicate with their professors or even communicate with other students or teachers in their building. And they also gain skills in leadership as they drive their own learning experiences and navigate through solving problems on a regular basis. I have 6 steps that I would love to share with you guys that might make it a little bit easier to integrate interdisciplinary learning into your daily practice. Step 1 is to identify your content focus. As a science teacher, I know where my students need to go and what they need to achieve in order to do well. In this case, I'm going to identify what area of focus do I want students to navigate through during this project. Step 2 is to define your learning objectives. By the end of this process, what is it that you really want students to be able to know or know how to do through their interdisciplinary learning experience? Step 3, and this one is more important because we don't spend as much time here as we should. This step includes being able to consider other disciplines that support the objective or content focus that you have outlined for your students. In this scenario, whatever your objective is, you want to see how math, science, history, social studies, art, and any other content areas actually will work together to support your learning objectives in this interdisciplinary environment. Step 4 is to prioritize your activities. If given enough time, I'm sure we can come up with a million ways that students can explore a single topic. However, I know we never have enough time to do all of those activities. So by prioritizing what content focused activities will actually lend themselves to your project, you're actually prioritizing the learning that students will be able to accomplish during the time that you set out for them to do it. Step 5 is to determine the assessment. How will you assess their learning at the end? And for our students, if they're ready, this may be an opportunity for them to show us how they would assess their own knowledge. Maybe they can choose to demonstrate their knowledge in a PowerPoint, a project, a model, a simulation, a podcast, anything that allows them to show what they've learned and how they've met that learning objective. And lastly, now that you've thought through this process, step 6 is going to be to plan your learning sequence. Actually map out the order in which you want to accomplish these activities and how you want students to engage in each one in order to meet your learning objectives and content focus. So let's take a look at an example that I've outlined for you following these 6 steps. First, step 1, I identify my content focus as biomes, specifically ecological restoration. It's important that your content focus has a real world application twist to it so that students can actually come up with solutions and find a way to make connections. Step 2, I identify my learning objective. As you can see, I want students to find ways in which animals and plant life can be conserved by analyzing biome characteristics and patterns. Step 3, I've considered other disciplines. I've taken some time to map out how other content areas would support my students in achieving this learning objective. So I've taken the time to look at how could I include math, ELA, social studies, even material science, and any other connecting pieces that I might see. In step 4, I prioritize those activities. In the time that I have, I know it's no way that I will be able to cover all of these activities and do them very well. So I want to prioritize which ones are going to have the biggest impact on student learning and which ones are really going to drive students in the direction of the outcomes that I want them to have. In step 5, I determine their assessment. As I said before, this is an opportunity for those who are new to interdisciplinary learning to choose an assessment that will allow students to show and demonstrate the data that they've collected or the solution that they've been able to come up with. If your students are ready for more advanced interdisciplinary learning, then this is an opportunity for you to let them have the reins and actually take control by choosing what assessment type makes the most sense for them. You can always provide a rubric or some guiding information, but students may be ready for you to allow them to choose how they want to display their knowledge and how they want to show you the solution that they've come up with. And step 6 is to plan my sequence. Now that I know exactly what I want to do and how long I have to do it, I can map out those core activities that I know will drive students toward that learning objectives. But But if I have some extra time, I can always go back to some of those other activities that I cut out and sprinkle them in so that students can continue to apply their knowledge in these different areas and make even more meaningful connections. This can only deepen their understanding and solidify the content that I've been trying to teach. With these 6 steps, I hope that each of you have found something that you can take back to your lesson planning or to your classroom in order to integrate interdisciplinary learning. Whether it's your first time enacting some interdisciplinary learning lessons or whether you're a pro at it, there's always an opportunity for you to learn and grow. You can continue to learn and grow in this interdisciplinary approach by watching one of our online modules that's free for educators. You can go through this free self-paced module entitled Interdisciplinary Learning, Making Connections at tgreduexplore.org. In this module, you'll be able to go through, define interdisciplinary learning in a deeper way, but also gain access to some free resources that will help make your planning experience a little bit easier. I would love to show you guys a quick sneak peek at a video clip that we've included in this module where Rupal describes how interdisciplinary learning follows her in the workplace.
Anytime I'm doing anything in the lab, it's always interdisciplinary work, understanding not only the optics side of it, but also the mechanical and electronics and even a little bit of programming. I'm absolutely applying all of these disciplines at the same time, whether I'm conscious of it or not. And that's how the real world works, and that's how real engineering is. And so having, experience in the classroom that replicates that will only set the students up for more success in the future in their real world jobs.
As we can see from Teresa and Rupal's videos, interdisciplinary learning is a powerful tool. Not only does it allow students to make connections to real-world application, but it also allows them to practice skills that are necessary for the workforce. So I know some educators might be a little hesitant to try out interdisciplinary learning because you feel like maybe these lessons will take too much time. The great part about it is you get to prioritize the activities, so you get to determine how much time is needed for you to accomplish these learning objectives. Some teachers may also think that they have to be a content expert in each one of those areas in order to provide a good quality interdisciplinary learning experience. And that's simply not true. You are an expert at being a teacher, which is what students need in order to use you as a resource for their projects. But with interdisciplinary learning, students are really the ones who will do all the research, who will navigate through their projects. So you have the opportunity to be used as a resource, but also to make connections with other teachers in your school in order to make those meaningful connections with students as well. One big piece of feedback that we receive from educators is that sometimes they don't have enough co-planning time in order to make meaningful connections. And that's okay. With interdisciplinary learning, all of the learning and activities and connections are being made in a single classroom. This allows the students to work diligently in that class in order to make those connections for themselves. For the educator, doing something as simple as emailing your other peers or starting a text chain between teachers in your grade band is a great way to just see where students are in each one of those classes in order to highlight or help students make those meaningful connections. So what if other teachers are already exploring interdisciplinary learning in your school? That's a great opportunity for you to also jump into that bandwagon and ride along with them. Interdisciplinary learning can happen in every classroom because it allows opportunities for students to continue to reinforce their skills and also to address areas in which they're interested in your particular content area. So I highly encourage you to take any opportunity you have in order to integrate interdisciplinary learning into your classroom and into your practice. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. I hope everyone gained something from this information and a new way in which they can incorporate interdisciplinary learning into their classroom and into their practice. For more information on interdisciplinary learning, don't forget about our e-module that's free for our educators online at tgreduexplore.org. I also invite you to join us again for one of our many other professional learning opportunities through the TGR Foundation. Check out some of our summer multi-day STEM studio opportunities through bit.ly/register for create. There are many opportunities for you to join us in the summer as we explore inquiry in a deep and dynamic way. Thank you all again, and I hope to see you guys soon. Back to you, Jason, as you continue with our program. Bye.
Thank you, Jess Kesler. Like the USA Science and Engineering Festival, the TGR Foundation is a proud member of the DoD's Defense STEM Education Consortium, or DSEC. The U.S. Department of Defense is currently seeking out passionate STEM educators to participate as DoD STEM Ambassadors for 2021-2022 school year. Here's the current DoD Ambassador, Mr. Jonte Lee, to show us some more information about this amazing opportunity for educators.
Thank you, Jason. Hello, future teacher ambassadors. I am Jonte Lee, and you are about to hear about a program I have been thrilled to be a part of this school year as a Department of Defense STEM Ambassador. There are so many things I want you to know about this program, but for now, I'll just share how invigorating it has been to meet and develop curricula with teachers from across the country who focus on many different areas of STEM learning. This transdisciplinary learning approach has been a game changer. Teachers have been told for years to incorporate tech into their lessons, but tech is this generic term. We throw it around. What does it really mean? The opportunity to collaborate with other STEM teachers around the country with support from DoD STEM is unique and has already been incredibly helpful. I love being a thought partner with other educators. For example, I realized that showing students the interconnectedness of the different parts of STEM is just as important as focusing on one area, such as chemistry or biology. The history of video games is the history of technology and the history of engineering. If you pay attention to it in this way, you are developing skills in critical thought and evaluation. If you are a K-12 educator in the United States and have a history of sharing your passion for STEM literacy with underrepresented or military-connected students, I encourage you to apply to participate as an ambassador for the upcoming school year. Applicants who are recognized with DoD STEM Ambassador Award will partner with the USA Science and Engineering Festival and DSEC, the Defense Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics Education Consortium, to advance STEM outreach during the 2021 to 2022 school year. Ambassadors will receive funding in a form of an educator stipend, funds for the classroom and materials, and funds for educator conferences or professional development attendance. Applications must be received by June 9th. And for some additional information about DoD STEM, let's take a look at this short video. Thank you for listening, and don't forget to submit your application to be a future teacher ambassador by June 9th. Bye-bye, everybody.
Before we begin our second workshop for today, I want to tell you about the USA Science and Engineering Festival's media campaign, Spark of STEM. Spark of STEM is meant to ignite STEM inspiration by showcasing awesome tips, activities, and fun created by teachers, students, and STEM influencers. The campaign shares weekly videos, photos, and other resources that will spark your attention. Follow along and learn more about these amazing STEM content creators that are passionate about STEM, like Mr. Daniel Thompson.
Hey everyone, so my name is Daniel Thompson. I am the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade science teacher here at the Ron Clark Academy in Atlanta, Georgia. I teach earth science, life science, and physical science, so we do just a little bit of everything in here. We'll be talking about earthquakes, mountains, volcanoes. We even talk about cells and the body systems, and then we do a little bit of physics and chemistry where we're talking about speed and motion, and then chemical bonds, ionic bonding and covalent bonding. This year was one of the most interesting years that I've ever been a part of. We had to go completely to virtual learning. It was a bit of a challenge, but at the same time, I had to shift my mindset to think, how am I going to reach my kids? How am I going to be as relatable as possible? How am I going to be more interesting than that PlayStation or that Xbox that's sitting right in front of my students? So what I started doing was I started making TikTok videos. It took a lot of convincing to get me on TikTok, but once I was there, I was hooked. Because there is an entire teacher world and teacher community that's out there that we might not even know about. I found that sharing these videos with my students and with other teachers around the world here at the school was really, really fun, and it helped me be relatable to my students, but it helped me inspire kids and teachers as well to go home and try some of these different activities. Let's take a look at what some of those look like. Push a can without your hands.
Nothing can stop me, I'm all the way up.
How to make circuit boxes. Starting with a cardboard box, 9-volt batteries, and some Christmas lights, strip down the wires and poke holes in your box. Tape your 9-volt batteries down, wire your lights together, and then put them on the terminals of the 9-volt battery. Get creative, add different rooms to your box, and then even design your box with some decor. Now, let's get to the at-home experiment. This is one of my most favorite experiments that I do with my students. I can use this when I'm explaining hot spots, convection currents, but sometimes I use it just to talk about chemical reactions and the signs of a chemical reaction. This is what I call a do-it-yourself lava lamp. Let's take a look. Make your own lava lamp. All you need, some jars, water, vegetable oil, food coloring, and some Alka-Seltzer. Here we go. Last step, now add the Alka-Seltzer. So to wrap this up, I want to say thank you to Spark of STEM for having me. And also, be sure to follow the USA Science and Engineering Festival. They've got a lot of awesome things that are going on there. And lastly, I want to give an encouraging word to the teachers out there. You've been fighting and you've been grinding through, y'all. Remember that we are a shining spark to so many of these students. The students truly wait. They watch us to see what we're going to do next. We mean more to them than we'll ever know. Keep that in your mind and know that you're inspiring and educating kids every single day. Thanks, y'all. Appreciate you having me.
Thank you, Mr. Daniel Thompson, for that engaging message. Now, if you have any questions, make sure you ask them by going to usasciencefestival.org/Q&A. And now for our final workshop, we actually have Roy Moye III. Roy is an aerospace engineer and the founder and CEO of STEMusic. Through his organization, Roy combines his love for music with his passion for STEM to inspire the next generation of multicultural STEM professionals. Let's join Roy as he walks us through the creative song process to use as a teaching tool in the classroom. Please welcome Mr. Roy Moye III.
Thank you so much, Jason. You're doing a great job hosting this event. I can't wait to jump into my workshop right now. Hello, it's your fellow singing engineer, Roy Moye III with STEMusic, and I'm here to present to you a workshop titled The Power of Teaching with a Song. You guessed it. We're gonna talk about the engineering design process today, but we're also gonna build a song, so pay attention. But first off, I wanna say thank you, all my educators out there, for the hard work that you've been doing throughout this pandemic. The world shut down, but guess what? You, my educators, y'all did not stop providing quality assignments and learning activities virtually for your students, and I can't thank you enough. So I wanted to take the time to fully acknowledge you. Now, be sure to pay attention because at the end of this workshop, there will be an opportunity to win a Starbucks gift card. Now, let's jump into this workshop about the power of teaching with a song right now. So let's talk about this engineering design process. Well, as an engineer, I'm a little biased. I love it so much. I think it's the best thing ever invented because it helps you with so many different things you're trying to do in regards to engineering, bringing a product to market, but really you can use it for anything you do in life. So I'm gonna talk through the 6 main steps of this engineering design process. Now, depending on who you talk to, it might go to 8, it might go to 5, people have their different ideas, but there's, I believe, 6 main steps. So first step would be identify your problem. What are you trying to solve? What's your dream? What's your vision, right? Then you go to step 2. You gotta do some research on that problem and then research some solutions. And so that's an important part. Then after that, you go to step 3, and that's to build your prototype. You've done the research, you know what problem you're trying to solve. Now it's time to build your prototype and see what it is that you can bring to life. Once you've done that, we go to step 4, and that's to test test, test. Very important because you want to learn from your mistakes and you want to try to get that prototype, that product to be the best it can be through your testing. After your testing, then we go to step 5, and that's to bring your product to market. Share it with the world. See how it performs out there in real life. And then step 6 is very key, and it's the final step, and that is to improve. Always seek to improve. It can always be better, right? A product that's already out there in the market can always be better. So that's a brief overview of the engineering design process. And let's say you're in your class and maybe you're teaching this lesson to your students and you want them to remember it pretty quickly, but you also want them to be engaged. Well, that's what we do here at STEMusic. We bring the music into it. We bring songs into it, which we all know growing up very young are ABCs, learning the books of the Bible, learning how to count, and my favorite, Days of the Week. Days of the Week. That was my song, for real. So we're gonna use the power of a song to build this engineering design process and help to make it more memorable and just engaging and fun. So let's jump into the course and how my creative process works in building a course that's gonna be memorable and fun. So let's talk about this creative process of building a course, which I believe is the main idea of your song. It's gonna encompass everything that you're gonna talk about in this song, right? So ours would be about the engineering design process. Now, when I think about a chorus, a good chorus, a memorable chorus, I think about rhyming. I love to rhyme every time. Give me a dime and we gon' shine. Clearly, I love rhyming, and I think it's important because it makes things more memorable. And it also reminds me of some classic songs that you and I both probably know. One of them being, oh, we're halfway there. Oh, living on a prayer. Or what about this other one? Bye, say to remember. Bye, dancing in September. And lastly, don't stop believing. Hold on to that feeling. Feeling, believing, remember, September, right? We're halfway there, living on a prayer. All of these phrases rhyme with each other, and they're songs that we've either heard before or we love dearly, right? So I think it's important that when we're building our song with our students, that we try to incorporate those rhyming words. And by the way, this is a great way to bring in your students, to get them engaged, because you could come with half of a song or just a line and say, hey, how do we rhyme with this phrase, y'all? How do we build this song and put it together? So I took the liberty of coming up with 2 different types of songs for the engineering design process because I didn't want anyone to feel left out. So I'm gonna sing one first and then I'm gonna chant one second, okay? So this is kind of what I came up with. Engineering design process for a product to be the best. Engineering design process. So you can clearly hear all the rhyming going on in there, but it could have been something different, like engineering design process, a product will be flawless, engineering design process. We used flawless that time, right? Or take a guess, engineering design process. Or it's gonna happen next, engineering design process. So you can have fun with it. That's when you can bring your students in and say, how do we rhyme these words? Now, you might be saying, singing engineer Roy, I don't sing. So how am I gonna do this with my students? Well, have no fear. You can always do a chant or a rap and do something, what I like to call and response. It's very common in the rap game. It's very common when you go to a concert, right? And they put the mic out there for you to say it. So it's very engaging and it just gets your students excited right away. Now you gotta sell out, and you gotta go for it all out when you do this with your students. And trust me, you might look silly, but you're gonna have a good time. So here's the engineering design process example of our chant. So it would go something like this. EDP, 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 EDP. Engineering design process for me. One more time. EDP, 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 EDP. Engineering design process for me. Hey. So you see, I'm still rhyming, right? But we have this kind of call and response within this chant that makes it engaging, but it's still rhyming, which makes it very memorable. And like I said, bring your students in. Have no fear. The songwriting process is this creative and fun, unique process that you don't always have to get it right on the first try. We're actually kind of doing the engineering design process when we're writing a song. Like I said, you can apply it to anything. So that's just a great example of how you can come up with some creative, fun, memorable choruses for whatever lesson that you might be teaching. Now, we're gonna talk about verses next. Let's do it. So in this first verse, you're gonna do exactly what you were doing in the chorus, but you wanna think about what it is you're trying to either teach your students or what you want them to remember in regards to what this topic is about. So for our example, it's the engineering design process. We already got 2 catchy choruses, right? One singing, one is a chant, but what do we want to know? What is the information we want to learn? So I like to sometimes when I'm writing for a song, I like to introduce that first verse with some lyric that's talking about what we're gonna be doing. And so in this case, I decided to start with 6 different steps that we will learn today. So 6 different steps that we will cover today, right? That's what we're gonna be doing. We're talking about 6 different steps in the engineering design process. And if you decided to have a test over this for your students, and you said, how many steps are in this engineering design process? Bam, they could say 6 different steps that we will cover today. You already know what's next. We gotta rhyme, right? First identify the problem, then you're on your way. So when we're identifying the problem, which was step 1, we're into the engineering design process. And so we're on our way. So I kind of equated those 2 things together, and that was my rhyming word. So 6 different steps that we will cover today. First identify your problem, then you're on your way. And then you want to keep going. And now when you keep going, you can pick 2 other words that rhyme together to move forward in your song. Once again, bring your students in, challenge them and say, what's the next line? What's the next step in this process, right? Next, do some research to find the best solution, then build your prototype. Now you are moving. So those are 2 totally different rhyming words from the words we used before, but it still has that pattern of rhyming, which is helping it be memorable. Now, the next part is something I love to do when I'm building songs for STEM music, and when I'm just teaching a lesson in general, right? Repetition sometimes is key in what we're teaching. Y'all are educators, you know more than me and better than me that repetition works. And so in this song, when I think about the engineering design process, one of the critical parts is the testing part, because you learn so much. A lot of times you fail in this part. You think your product's gonna do something, but it does something different. And so I decided to write, you need to test, 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 to learn from your mistakes. Test, 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 to make sure everything's okay. So as you can see, I said test, test, test. I wanted to repeat that just to make sure there's something important here and we can tell why it's important, right? We need to test to make sure everything's okay. We need to test to learn from our mistakes. And then the last portion that I decided to write was our last 2 steps. Then bring your product to the world for everyone to see. Always improve to be the best it can be. So once again, rhyming those words to bring it to everyone to see, and then we are also improving to be the best it can be, which is also very important in the engineering design process. And there you have it. We have our first verse right there. I know it was quick, but it is an example of how you can engage your students. It's an example of how you can say, here's what I want to teach on, here's what I want you to remember, and here's what I'm going to put in a song with your help, the students' help. So let's jump into the other version, right? The chant one that we did, okay? So this chant version goes a little something like this. Step 1, identify the problem. Step 2, research to solve it. Step 3, build your prototype. Step 4, test. Make sure everything's all right. Step 5, bring it to everyone. Step 6, improve your never done. EDP. Engineering design process for me. That was our rap right there, our chant. And as you can see, I continued with the call and response, right? Step 1, identify the problem. Step 2, research to solve it. Now I want to stop right there too. I've been saying rhyme, we gotta rhyme, right? Well, we didn't rhyme in those 2 lines right there, right? Identify the problem, research to solve it. kind of close, but I share that example because it's okay if you don't rhyme sometimes, you know? You might not always be able to do that depending on what lesson, right? What if you're teaching about citrus fruit and you're like, I got an orange and I'm going to give you an orange. Like it's an orange, right? So it's okay if you don't rhyme something, if you repeat a word twice just to make sure it rhymes, or if you just say something totally different. Sometimes it can make the line more memorable. And then another thing is you could always have a different version. So depending on how you engage your students and say, how can we write that differently? Maybe you say step one, identify the vision. Step two, research the mission, right? So we just rhymed that time. And that's the beauty of songwriting. You can go back and forth and actually use this engineering design process we're talking about to come up with the best lyrics and the best songs. But as you can see, I kept the call and response throughout the entire chant and just made it more engaging from our chorus all the way to our chant. So those are two examples of how you can use a song, use music to engage your students, bring them along in the creative process, and create something that you and your classroom, your students will remember for the rest of their lives. And it'll be something fun and memorable, and hopefully will even help them on tests and assignment and homework, all the different things that they might have to do within your class. So I hope you learned something today. I wish we had more time together, but I did want to let you know about this prize that you could win. So here's the challenge. For all my educators out there, one, thank you so much for tuning in and watching. I truly appreciate it. But if you decide to go ahead and make a song with your class, that's the challenge right there. We want you to tag us at The STEMusic on social media, and if you do so, you will be entered in a drawing to win a Starbucks gift card. And I'm gonna give multiple Starbucks gift cards out, so it won't just be one. So go back to your classrooms, build a song with your students, whether it's a chant, a rap, a full song with you singing. Have fun and tag us at The STEMusic and use the hashtag #ShowUsHowYouSTEM. Thank you so much for tuning into this workshop on the power of teaching with a song. I hope you learned something, and I hope you remember engineering design process for a product to be the best. Engineering design process. And if you want to learn more about STEMusic, this incredible company that aims to inspire the next generation of multicultural STEM professionals through engaging and entertaining music, just like we did today, feel free to visit us on social media at The STEMusic on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. On TikTok, we're at STEMusic Nation. And for all things STEMusic, visit us on our website at www.thestemusic.com. Thank you so much once again for participating and attending this workshop on the power of teaching with a song. Please be sure to enjoy the rest of the USA Science and Engineering Festival's Inspire Educators workshops. Until next time, peace.
Don't forget to submit your questions to the presenters using the Q&A form. A list of all answered questions will be emailed to the registered attendees and accessible from the festival's website. The resources mentioned in both today's workshops are also available to download from our website at the usasciencefestival.org/IEW-resources. And don't forget, if you're interested in inspiring curiosity and wonder with impossible science, then check us out online in all the different social medias, including the full episodes on YouTube. Or you can get the free lesson plans at impossiblescience.com. For those of you who are interested in the DoD STEM Ambassador program for the upcoming school year, make sure you visit this site for information. Now, before we say goodbye, I want to make sure we thank the presenting partners, AstraZeneca, the Science Channel, and the U.S. Department of Defense DoD STEM for making this educational series possible. And I also want to make sure I thank each and every one of you for participating today from the United States or around the globe. Mark your calendars for these upcoming events from the USA Science and Engineering Festival. Get ready for another Inspire Educators workshop series in November. Educators, plan a virtual field trip for your students at the XSTEM All Access Conference Series in September, hosted by Mr. Fascinate Justin Schaefer. And don't miss the SciFest Virtual Expo in October. Visit usasciencefestival.org for more information. And from all of us at the USA Science and Engineering Festival and us here at Impossible Science, I just want to say thank you so much for everything you do to inspire curiosity and wonder in the classroom. Because we have to stay curious, because the right question changes everything.